a break away from life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 2.5 hours is
Which we all
perfect.
need right now.
Yeah, because we could leave. Kids get done by 4 o'clock at school. We can be on the road by 5 at the 7:30. We're down there for dinner. Stay Sunday till 4-ish and be home by 6:30, 7 o'clock. Go to bed and go to school on Monday.
Yep, it's just far enough away where it's a vacation.
Yeah.
Cool. That's what I told my son, because this young generation trying to buy a house is almost impossible right now. So I was like, go buy yourself 3 or 4 acres and go get yourself a nice RV.
Well, that's why I told my daughter. She graduated college and got a job and a
Yeah?
degree, but then now she's waiting tables too, and she's in our basement. I'm like, hey, go live in the other trailer if you want
Yeah.
to. Just stay down there. Here, I just sent you, Jeff. I just sent you a picture. It's from up top of the 2 trailers, the gazebo. You see my truck and the water.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, you're right on the water.
Yeah. For $500 a month, you can't beat that. Well, per site, but
Yeah. No, that's nice. Yeah, if my kids, I would love to do something like that, but of course, both of my kids are. Well, he'll be 22 and she's 16, so I feel like I missed out.
My
like I didn't miss out on anything. I feel like I missed out on having an RV and taking the weekends to go out. But
yeah.
Maybe someday I'll have grandchildren.
Well, my 16, well, she's 17, likes to go sometimes, but she'll fight. And then the bad thing is she gets job, or, like this weekend we should be going.
Yeah.
They're off of school today, but Saturday night is homecoming. So we can't just go leave her here and go to the lake because she's 17, she'll have a party or something happen. So stay home.
Yep. You deal with that as well. Yeah, I like how you put the fence around that.
I just sent you a picture too, another one, but
oh, is that the inside?
That's inside of the gazebo.
Oh, that's the yeah, nice. It looks like a room by itself. Yeah, freaking
right, 9 seconds, fellas.
Full on party going on there.
Yeah, ceiling fans in there that can switch it out in the winter and put heaters up there.
Here we go.
Nice. I'm jealous in a healthy way.
We should just say screw talking about the car business. Let's talk about campsites on the side of lakes.
Yeah. That's a bad thing. That'll make other people jealous when they got to work weekends and can't go camping like that, right?
Yeah.
In the car business.
Yeah. But you're all right. Once, especially with my daughter being 16, she had homecoming last weekend. It's like, dude, every weekend it's something. It's like, good luck.
Well, my daughter did 3 of them. She did 3 homecomings, one for her boyfriend at another school, then one with her friends at another school, and then this weekend's hers. And they don't even go to the dance. They just get dressed up, go to dinner, and don't even go to the dance. And I can't go camping.
Yeah.
Unless you don't mind coming home to a party mess.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So,
what's going on in the used car market?
What's that? Which one?
And I just got the Bluetooth earpiece, so he gets a lag on the audio.
Well, let's talk about what's going on in used cars. I did a video last week, I think, because here was the thing. The shopper activity is really low comparably year over year. It's about 15% down. Inventory levels, at least on these listing sites, are equal. 1.2 million in Auto Trader was last year, and this year it's 1.2 million. So when the availability is high still, or the same, but shopper activity is down 15%, we're obviously an election year that's driving them. You anticipate drop off in values, and it always happens going into these winter months, and so there's no shock there. The curveball is obviously election year, but we can prepare for that every four years. But it's the floods and the hurricanes now. So we
Mm-hmm.
ran into this a couple of years ago in Texas, right? And we had a bunch of dealers like, oh crap, wholesale value is going to go up. Cars are going to go for more money. And but what was happening was in Texas, it was just a quick punch. I mean, of market drive, because one of the first things that people are going to want to do after the hurricane: shelter, food, and transportation, right? Food being water, whatever, food and water, shelter, and then transportation. So somebody needs a car, they're not going to sit on it for 2 months after a hurricane. They're going to do it quick, right? So what we're going to run into with these floods and hurricanes, however many, there's probably hundreds of thousands of cars that got damaged, but whatever, tens of thousands that need to be replaced. And so these Texas dealers are going to go wherever they can to go, or not Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Carolina. They're going to go everywhere. Well, not only that, but the floods in Tennessee's and the Carolinas, they're going to go to Kansas, they'll go to Vegas, they'll go to California to buy these cars. They'll go to the auction and buy these cars. And what that will bring up wholesale values. And so dealers here in Kansas are going, well, crap, if I got to pay 30, I'm going to ask 35 for it or 33 for it or whatever. But they're not going to be able to because the people in Kansas don't have to replace the car. The guy in Tennessee the dealer can buy it for 30 and sell it for 35 in Tennessee, even though nationally it might only be worth 33 because of the need, right? And so there'll be a punch in those markets, meaning there's going to be a fast hit. They're going to have to get these cars, get them in there and turn around and sell it to these customers. And that's only going to last 30, 45, 60 days tops. And 60 days tops. And the only reason why that would happen is if insurance companies are dragging their feet, not giving them their money, which will happen. And maybe they're not dragging their feet, they're just overwhelmed. But either way, it might take a bit to get that money. So yeah, it's going to drive wholesale values up. And again, with shopper counts being down, people don't have to buy. And there are markets where 90% of the country are in markets where they're not impacted. Margin compression is going to get so freaking tight over the next pretty much to the end of the year. And then you're rolling into tax season, February, March. So the next 5 months are going to be probably the toughest margin compression you're going to run into. And then to top it off, the incentives on these new cars are getting crazy. I shared a post, somebody was like a $50,000 or $55,000 Ram going for like 38, brand new, $8,000 rebates, and maybe special rates. So end of the year clearance is going to happen on new. And I think majority of people are in a negative equity situation if they bought a car in the last 3 to 4 years, and they're going to need those incentives to roll out of these cars. Right. And so I think if anybody is going to be buying something in the last quarter of the year, it's a lot of the attention is going to go to new, which then drives more trade-ins, right, into the mix. So I would say one or two things. If you're a dealer with an aging problem, sit on these cars about a week or two. And when these guys get the check and they're starting to buy cars in these markets, you're going to probably be able to get out of them pretty easy. Go sell them to these people in these impacted markets. And that'll be a way to clean up your inventory in the winter. So it might be a good thing for you. But anybody just moving cars, the margin compression is going to get tight. So F&I and other areas you're going to have to focus on.
Good advice.
But that's prediction. But I just don't know. We've been tracking this for 15 years. I just don't know any other scenario that would change that. Just not. We've seen it with Hurricane Katrina. We've seen it with the Texas. Like I said, it was a 30-minute window or 30-day window, and it really only impacted those Texas dealers, and that was it. And everybody else is business as usual, except for they couldn't buy cars for the right money because of it.
It's all about local supply on demand.
Yeah.
Yeah, the timing here. So I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Trump was speaking to Detroit. He announced that he was going to introduce the ability to write off your interest on your loan payments, your car loan payments. He's elected president. So you got all that going on. And then I could see where if that were to happen, that people would be super incentivized to go out and buy a car in the beginning of the new year.
Yeah. Especially a new car, because that's even more interest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they do it on houses.
Mm-hmm. It's
That's
going to
true.
follow the
Cars.
same path. So
Yeah.
I think you got to make sure you're itemizing things to make it work. But
Will RVs count?
ah,
I might have to
Should.
upgrade my RV. Should.
hmm.
Does a mobile home would it count? Or a manufactured home count?
I mean, I think it
Why
would be
would-
great if you could do that and like have maybe have that incentive only apply on vehicles made in the United States. Try and
Hmm.
push
Well,
manufacturers to bring more manufacturing back again. Yeah.
well, you'd have to have a percentage made in the United States, right? Even the Buicks, I think only 30%
Yeah.
of it's built in the United States or put together.
True. True.
Like Tesla's, like I think the most pure United States built car. I think it was as
Yeah,
far
as
as
far as I know.
80%. Yeah, but Elon would like that, wouldn't he?
Quite a few Toyotas are as well.
Yeah, I thought I saw a stat where I think Toyota percentage wise was more
One of the
U.S. built
highest.
than Ford F one
Yeah.
fifty or something like that. It was something.
Yeah.
I could be
I
wrong
think
there,
it's
but I thought I remember seeing something like that.
no,
I
I
didn't
remember
think.
reading that. I think it was
Yeah,
the truck lines, specifically the Tacoma.
yeah, because they're down there in Texas, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah.
see.
So
Yeah. So John Singo says Tesla, Honda, and Toyota were mostly at the top of the cars made in the USA survey.
yeah,
It's crazy.
Tesla Hunt. Yeah, and like I said, I think they even beat. Like I'm a big Ford guy. I was an F-350, but now that I parked my trailer, it's an F-250. But yeah, but who knows what percentage of that you would think American made truck, right? But the Tacoma probably has more assembly here in the States than that. Not
Well,
assembly, but parts and everything else.
I always think back to 1995 when we had the most reliable Jaguar. And the reason for that was because Ford owned it. And Ford
Yeah,
was
but
building the XJs with F-150 engines.
Yep, that 4.0.
Yeah. And I
yeah, but I
think that
couldn't give up the
was,
fact because I started in '97, getting in those things, and the window buttons and everything looked like the Mercuries or the Fords. I'm like, this is the Ford. The interior felt
yeah.
Fordish, you know. It's like this don't seem like a luxury car.
No, that's true. Especially back then when those things weren't the attention to detail wasn't what it is today.
Yeah, the Jaguars had the same power window buttons as the Taurus. You know, it was like this doesn't seem right.
Man, this is the second week in a row where the LinkedIn connection dropped. Huh.
Oh, really?
Sorry to anyone who was watching there.
No, that's
Yeah. Well, I think LinkedIn is a little behind the times on video streaming.
yeah.
Anyway, we still got Facebook and YouTube rolling.
Nice,
Oh, and I'm watching the view count just spiked up a little bit. So
good.
they're coming over from LinkedIn. All right.
So yeah, I mean, with the other things with the used car stuff. So we just a couple months ago we had our used car palooza, which was at the Cars Commerce headquarters, and we had David Spizak, Frank Knox, David Sneed, a lot of people there, and a lot of or Brian Kramer, but a lot of the talk was around acquisition, and obviously what we just talked about, right? I mean, right now these flood hurricane market's going to have to acquire cars. Which is going to make it tough for us people in Kansas, let's say, to acquire cars because they're driving the market. Good thing will be in the next 30 days, the books will be high. So you might be able to take a used car that you're buried in and put somebody in it that's negative equity because the books will be high because what the hurricane done to the books. Anyways, but acquisition, David Spizak, talks about was quit worrying about sales, quit talking about sales. You need to talk about acquisition, how many cars you're buying. And that all makes sense because if you acquire a car, service department, private party acquisition, however you can acquire something, that forces a sale because you're as a dealer, you're not running a museum, right? You got to, whatever you acquire, you're either going to wholesale it or retail it. It forces a sale to happen. So the more cars you acquire, the more cars you're going to sell one way or the other. Right? Even if you got a lot that can only handle 80 cars, but you can go acquire 200 off of private party acquisitions and the service lane, do it because you're either going to put it on your 80 car lot and turn that fast, maybe sell 120 off of the 80. And then you take these other ones and sell them too. So, I thought that was a pretty smart approach is, start acquiring more and more and the sales will come. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of dealers or used car managers think of it that way. A lot of times they're like, well, why do I need to buy more cars? I'm buried in what I got. And, bosses after me grows, and it's slowed down. And the other thing is as you build out like acquisition buying centers and you're trying to get them motivated, buy whatever you can. You buy a $500 car, that's a win. Even if it's something you're not going to sell yourself, go wholesale it for 800 and do it again. But at least they feel accomplished. All the calls and emails and everything we're doing ended up being something, right? Even if it's a $500 car. So always be buying, because that's what happened too when I was there at the used car palooza. A guy came up to me and said, hey, when's a good time to stop buying? Like if I already have, like, example, 80 cars and I bought 120, should I stop now? It's like, no, keep going and just find the best end user. And that gives you a pot of vehicles to pick and choose what you will put on your lot too, So acquisition,
It used to be
obviously.
always be selling. Now it's always be buying. Got it.
Yeah. 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 Always be closing, always be selling, and always be buying.
Yep.
Always be.
Closing.
Always bees. Always bees. Yeah.
So on the acquisition front, there's any new tricks to the trade, anything that we could be doing differently to maybe pull some cars from our own market instead of having to go far out.
Even our 20 group, we have good operators, and all of them openly admit they don't work the service lane hard enough. Now, one of them acquires 150 to 200 from private party acquisitions. And I think the fact that they do that doesn't put enough pressure on them to work the service lane enough, right? Because now all of a sudden they can buy 50 or 100 out of service on top of the 150 to 2. So I think they're fat and lazy on that. But it's a good operator. They know what they're doing. I'm not calling fat and lazy, but yeah, it makes it something. But then these other dealers, managers that haven't done it, it is a big process, because is it one person doing it? Do you have multiple people? Do you have your service writers do it? Do you appraise every car? Do you only appraise cars that no one's bought from you in the last 6 months or a year, so you don't embarrass them? And then what numbers do you put on? What tools do you use? So and what kind of comp do you do? It's a lot to it. But that's the easy database. Those cars are showing up day in and day out. However many, 50, 150, 200 cars are coming in and out of that place that probably already done business with you. That's an easy one. Hard to build out, but that's an easy approach. The second one, and I mentioned to you guys, and this is where I'd like your feedback, because I've done internet since 97. We go back on internet process stuff, right? And that's your leads. If you're a dealer with 300, 500, how many leads do you get, Jeff, at the stores?
About 150 to 200.
Okay. Wouldn't you assume? Now, Spizak put out a number like 70, 80% of those people have a car that will impact that deal. Doesn't mean they're trading it. Could be they give it to their niece. Could be they're going to sell it themselves. Could be sell it to car. But even half of those will have probably a trade involved.
Yeah, we're about 60 to 70%.
Yeah. So if you got 200 leads, 140 of them are going to do something with a car, right? And but if you go look at your CRM, how many of those active leads have a trade information on it? And I think as a internet guy that sold cars for 10 years off the internet, the last thing I want to do is screw up that chance to get an appointment, get them in the door. So the last thing I'd probably sometimes would bring up would be a trade, because the customer brings up a trade. It's like, oh crap, now here we go. All right, now they won't come in unless they can get 10 grand for the trade. The used car manager won't give me a number, and it could throw off and especially if you're BDC rep and you're getting paid on appointments and you don't really work deals, you're going to try to avoid that appraisal part and bringing that in. But think about that. You got in 60-day window, let's say you can use cars, you got a 60-day age policy. This takes 60 days of leads. You got 400 leads, and 280, 300 of them are probably doing something with a car. So meaning again, they've already probably looked up the value if they're going to give it to their niece or sell it to a family member, if they're going to sell it themselves, or they've gone to a CarMax or a Carvana who makes it easy to throw a number on it. So they're
Mhm.
gonna do it. So you might as well bring up it in the conversation, because the challenge is when somebody goes to Auto Trader, your website, when they want to submit a lead, it's only asking for the name, email address, phone number, right? Tops. They're not asking, are you trade now? I used to, back in the day, when they submitted a lead, my automated email would say, hey, if you got a trade, click here for appraisal. If you're looking to get finance, click here for a credit app. I was trying to, if I got a lead, trying to get my teeth in them deeper by, if I know I can get an app or if I know I can get trade information, my teeth are in them a little bit deeper. I just don't know how much focus is there, because what we find is only about 8 to 10% of active leads have trade data. And so that's pretty low. I mean, what if you can get it to 50, 60%? And now there's a database. Hey, I need trucks. Well, let's look at active leads trying to trade in trucks. And it's also allows you to have different conversation than any other dealer, because most dealers are just trying to contact that lead based on the car that they inquired about. Well, I'm contacting, hey, I know you submitted this lead on the F-150. We haven't had a chance to talk, but I'm really just calling you today about your 2018 Accord you're trying to trade in. Interested if we can take a peek at that. We really need some nice vehicles, you know. And now I'm changing the conversation. But with only 8 to 12% of your active leads with trade information, I think you're really missing opportunities. But that changes everything. I mean, it's changed what we've done for years, right? And so
How would you go about, other than a follow-up email, how would you go about acquiring that information?
well,
You
making
know, if it's a
sure
price
those,
quote lead.
yeah, I mean,
Control
100% of
your
my
lead
community,
form on your website.
yeah,
That's one.
Mhm.
you can. Don't make it a required field, but make it, hey, are you trading or getting rid of a vehicle to acquire? Are you replacing a vehicle, or, you know? And actually, what
Yeah.
I did do, I forgot about that. When they submitted a lead, I had another window pop up on my website that had the same preference as my email in case they didn't read my email. After they submit a lead, a window would pop up. Hey, if you're interested in trading in the vehicle, click here, or getting finance,
Mhm.
click here. So they would have to close that window out. But I try to grab it there too. But also in just all your
Back in the
communications, all
day
your
when we
voice.
didn't have 5 million chat things that they've already closed. Yes.
They still had to close my $500 coupon, internet price coupon, right?
Oh, you had a dealer
Um,
owned website.
Um, but all your communications should focus around that. You know, instead of leaving a message, hey, just calling about that F-150. Wonder if you're interested, and if you are, can you give me a call back? Like, you know, include that if you're trading in a vehicle, we're really shorthanded on nice vehicles. Well, really shorthanded in any vehicle. I don't care if you're, you know, trading in a piece of junk or a really nice car you bought last year. We'd be interested in giving you some numbers. All your communication should include an opportunity to get that trade information, and don't be afraid of it. Because if you already got some kind of relationship, even if it's just a lead inquiry, um, they trust you enough to give you your phone number and email address. You've got to just try to build on that relationship, and that trade or vehicle is going to be evolved some way or the other. So you might as well be with you than CarMax or Carvana's.
You know, it's I got two thoughts on that. So yeah, I'll add to your reasoning for getting the trade info on the leads more often. Back in, you know, the early 2000s when I was doing it, the number one email blast that I had that was always a success was when I whittled down the list to a particular vehicle the customer already owned that we were looking to acquire. So it was especially useful at Honda back in the Odyssey when the Odyssey was really hot days. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you say like anybody who owns an Odyssey, you know, that's had it for 2 years or more, you hit those people and say, hey, look, we really need Odysseys. Blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And do the same thing with anything though. So
Mhm.
having that and being able to have that blast even 60 or 90 days later after their lead came in, super effective. Because now they're like, oh, well, I've been looking, I've already got ranged, I've already been told what my trade's worth, and I didn't like any of those numbers. So now they might be a little more susceptible to scheduling a VIP appointment to come in and have a professional appraisal done on their vehicle. whereas you could range them ahead of time. That's another thing. It's like, just
Yeah.
get them a range. And then they sit back and say, well, oh no, you're $10,000 to $15,000 range. No, I wouldn't take less than 17 grand. My car's perfect. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, 5% of cars out there are perfect. Let's take a look at it. Yeah. I mean, it's easy enough to get around these things when you're armed for it. But that, I think some of what you're falling into, and I heard this morning. One of my partners from Frickin' Tech was just at a digital dealer. He came back and he was saying that he goes out to digital dealer and he's expecting it to be this cutting edge tech kind of, here's how you do this, with technology. And he said most of the classes were about how do you get your sales staff re-engaged with talking to customers again, and like all the 101 stuff was
The shit we talked about at digital dealer in 2001.
Yeah.
Same stuff.
It hasn't changed.
No. Well, it was 2006 was the first digital dealer, but yeah. It goes back to the basics, and that's where I go. That's where like I said, acquisition, service drive. I mean, that's pretty basic,
It is.
And then I
But how come so many dealerships still struggle with it?
Yeah,
it's right there in their face, but dealerships do not implement a process around it.
No, I'll tell you exactly the problem there. I, kind of do that for a living. The hardest part in it is changing the mentality. So your sales department is built around buy a car right now. And I don't want to talk to you unless you're buying a car right now. Yeah. But when you're dealing with service customers, most of them are not in the market right now. You are implanting or incepting the idea that they could re-enter the market and get rid of their car quite easily. So it takes a little nurturing. And that's not something that a lot of salespeople like to do.
Yeah, that's not car people. They're usually instant gratification. But I think that was the other part of this. Like one of the guys was like, well, if they bought a car with us or they, within the last whatever window of time, year or 2 or 6 months, they didn't want to appraise it. And of course you don't. I mean, you sold it to them for 35. Now you're going to tell them it's worth 27. But I would say I would still appraise it, but keep it internal, and then appraise it again in 3 to 4 months and appraise it again. So now you're a year down the road and you could show them, hey, a year ago, this thing was worth 27. Now it's down to 20. But the good news is I can get you out of it and blah, blah, blah. If you're interested in, we got new Apple CarPlay features and new whatever technology in a new product. And for $50 more a month, we can trade you out of it. But yeah. And again, I think the hard part is finding out that person, just like you said with digital dealer, getting them to do the work, but doing the nurturing work and not just, hey, who can I buy a car today? It's because the service writers are like, what's that?
You're right, though. That's a key thing, what you just said. So many people take the path of least resistance. They just present a number. But what you should be presenting is everything. It's the features on the car you're going to buy, the upgrade, hey, look, even though you're $7,000 upside down, there's a $4,000 rebate here. It's only $3,000 really to you. This is a good deal. Yeah.
You got to have somebody that can walk the walk and not just like, to me, I hate to say it because I could get backlash. Like I don't like BDC departments because if I had a BDC department, they had to have sales experience in mind. Let's just say that. When a customer's on the phone and saying, hey, if I trade a car and what's my tax benefits, or if I want to go ahead and I want the sunroof, but I want to make sure I get the leather, can I go with the 1SC or 1SD or the 1SC? What do I got to buy? And yeah, you could train a BDC rep to walk through that kind of stuff, but objectively, or hey, I can't do anything because I've already talked to CarMax and I'm $7,000 buried, right? Okay, well, how do you take that conversation to the next level? Well, do you have to have the 1SD? Can we go to the 1SC? You won't have the whatever. Plus, we got a $5,000 rebate, which really only makes you $2,000 upside down, right? So I don't like BDCs because most BDCs are just running a script to get them in the door, and any
They don't have
curveball
the practice. Yeah,
yeah,
they're not
any
selling.
curveball that slows the deal down and loses integrity of that person they're talking to, and the guy on the other end's going, "Can I just talk to a manager or something?" Because I just
Mhm.
so same thing being with service, because you go, well, I can get the service drive person to appraise every car they write up. Well, they're too busy to do shit like that, and then if you're not, and that's the other problem, dealers are paying 100, $200 to help me buy a car. Well, that's not gonna, you know. In the meantime, they're paying a $600 fee at Manheim plus transportation. Or Frank Knox, for example, runs an acquisition company. He'll acquire cars for dealers, but he's charging $350, right? And he'll handle transportation and stuff. And I go, and when I had Frank Knox talk to our 20 group at the end, I said, hey guys, if you're not at least, if you like what you heard from Frank and might think of him buying your cars for him, go ahead and do that. But if you're not paying at least $350 to your sales rep or your service writer to help you acquire cars, that
Mhm.
makes no sense. That's hypocritical. You're only going to pay
Yeah,
100
right,
or two
right.
to your own people, but you're willing to pay him 350, right? So that's where
It's a good
dealers, I
point.
think, made the different shift is if you're paying $600 fee from Manheim, pay 600 to your people or 500, whatever, and you still don't have to pay for transportation. Now you get some interest, but you get different skill sets, right? When you're willing to pay more money, they're going to get more better at it, right? And so, even if you have the service writer do it, going, hey, they might grab a salesperson and say, hey, help me out here. They got this. Can they do that with this? Yeah, okay, and do the deal because they want that extra $500 versus the 100 or 200. It's not worth their time. So, yeah, that's the other challenge with the service drive acquisition. I think I've been to Beaver Toyota, and it was funny if you've ever been to that facility. It's an awesome Toyota store in
I like
Georgia.
pain.
Yeah, and they have their sales tower here with whatever 5 managers, and I look over there, and because I got a big open showroom, and there's another sales tower with 3 managers over there. I'm like, well, what are those? And those are our service acquisition managers, and they're dedicated people, and that's all they do, and they're not tying up the service rider and trying to get, because think about that, service rider's got a 3 or 4 grand bill that he's trying to get commission on, or she, and then here you are trying to rip the deal out from them. And that was the other part. We go, okay, well,
Yeah.
some ideas is, hey, we'll guarantee if we buy it, we'll do the 3 to 4 grand work and service anyways, and we'll give you the comp on it, and then I'll pay the other manager the comp because I'll have to if he can't buy it, I got to go to the auction and spend
Yeah.
money to buy it. So
Just move the numbers around.
pay plan, pay plan, pay plan. What they say, show me my pay
Have you
plan,
had
and show me my job
have you
description.
worked with have you worked with any successful dealerships that funnel the salespeople like maybe once a day they're designated for the service bay for acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, they do. I've heard or seen dealers doing those rotations, and that kind of works as long as,
Yeah.
I used to do it on my own. I remember doing the Kelly Blue Books and
Hmm.
stapling it to my car and throwing it into the dash, right? But the catch is again comp on that. Where I found most successful stores on acquisition count that as an added unit, right? So if I get a 2 grand bonus when I hit 12 units, well, if I sold 10 and bought 2, they allowed those 2 as bonus units, and they count it toward. Not only did I get a $500 acquisition comp, but I got the unit bonus. It counted as a unit on the board. And that was a couple other easy ideas. David Spizak shared this too. He's like, change your sales board instead of Jasen and 5X's for the 5 sales he did, have, if there's a trade involved in any of those, like the deals with trades involved have X's on them. Because that's 2 units versus the ones that didn't. So of my 5, 2 black X's would indicate 2 deals with no trades, 3, and then there's 3 more green X's. Those indicate I had trade-ins. So really, the board shows 5, but if those 3 green ones count as 2 deals, right? I sold a car and I traded a car. That's 6 deals plus the 2. That's 8 total deals. So what he found, and what we brought up at the meeting was, that person that sells you 20 units a month, but they maybe only traded 5 cars versus the guy that sells 12 units a month, but he's traded 8. statistically, that person that only did 12 deals is better for your store gross wise, right? Because now I got
Yeah.
2 deals. I'm selling and I'm trading. I'm selling and I'm trading. So that was a good idea. The other good idea that came up was too, and I think it was Spizak again, was talking about how do you drive more trade-ins? Because that's the other part is salesmen kind of dictate that, and it's kind of easy. And I'm stealing a lot from what Spizak shared, so I'm giving him the credit for it. But when you go up to a customer and they say, well, and you ask them, oh, are you trading anything? And they say, well, no, I'm going to sell it myself. Salesman goes, okay, good. I don't have to deal with that. And then you go to the desk and they go, what's going on? Well, customer's excited. They like the car. They're trading. No, boss. They're only trading, or they only want to buy this car. And they're like, good, and they pass it off where, like
Yeah,
he
but then it
said,
just takes longer for them to come buy that car because then they got to go back home and try and sell that car, which could take weeks, months.
but it's the easiest deal is just to sell a car without a trade involved. So they're going to take the
That
easy
part,
way
yeah.
out. Right. And then we
Yeah,
go,
but
hold on a second. No, every car goes in the service writer is going to get an inspection. Every customer goes in F&I is going to get a menu for warranty. So why doesn't every customer with trade-in require a trade appraisal, right? Regardless if they're going to sell it themselves or not, you got to talk about it and do it. But we do the easy way out. And so the other part that was that he added was a good idea was for every, especially on mini deals, $100, $200 minis. Well, if there's if you can get a trade involved, I'll give you another $200 on that mini, Or then we even talked about just any deal with a trade, whatever your comp is, you're going to get another $200 if you got a trade involved in it. So if I'm making 20-30% on my gross, I get another 200 if I keep the trade. Well, then we're going to start having trade conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many? I mean, where I grew up, every pay plan had a qualifier, used car qualifier. So you had to sell 3 or 4 used cars every month to hit any bonuses. So it'd be nice if the qualifier was, there were multiple ways to achieve your qualifier. So you could sell 4 used cars, or you could trade 6, have 6 trades, or you could bring in 2 straight up acquisitions.
Yeah.
Just make that more paths to the bonus.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think too, assigning people those cars, and I think I told you, and I'll throw it out there. I think I told you last time. It's like, if I was a CRM tool, and I like to build out at least a lead management tool, is anybody, you trade a car, you get the leads on those trades. I mean, think about that. I know the story. I know why. I swooped it for an extra $1,000. So, I mean, I hate to work that deal so hard, steal a trade by $1,000. I don't say steal it, but acquired it for $1,000 less. The customer's okay with it. You're not stealing. Yeah. Either way, you get a good trade in on it, and then the next day or 2 days later, you get a lead, and because it's round robin, it goes to the green pea, and they go make a $5,000 deal on a trade. You trade it. It's like, damn, no. And so if that would be the other thing about the more trades you get, the more leads you're going to get. Oh, you're complaining about not having any leads. Well, when's the last time you acquired a car or traded a car for me? Right? You don't, so that person, they get leads based on the trades they bring in. And I think that would be another way to focus on. That's where, like in our tool, we do allow them to assign cars to people, but the CRMs aren't built out that way. The only way to build it out, depending on the CRM, is let leads come in generically saying, hey, we got your lead, we're going to assign you to a person. And then once you get that lead, figure out who acquired that car and then assign that lead to that person would be the way to manually do it for now.
Well, to go a step further there, it's a benefit for the customer. So like here I am, I've been in the car business forever, seems like now. And when I'm in the market to buy a car and I call a dealership, and when the person I talk to says, oh, I traded that car, that was Miss Parker's car. It's like, that thing's awesome. Let me tell you about it. It's like that. For me, it's like, oh, this is a relief, really. And it's like instant. Okay, I might even pay a little more for that. You get the story.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, just saying, whenever I was selling Volkswagens, I sold a shit ton of the used Volkswagens because I would only sell the ones that I traded in. It was just became natural. Yeah. I knew the car. I knew the customers. I could speak with authority about that car.
Yeah, the only other way to do it without the CRM help is to do something like, there's adopt a car that go back years, but something like that says, hey, if you trade that car and we sell it with less than 30 days, you're going to get $300 or something like that. And it doesn't matter if you sell it or not, because imagine being that salesperson. Your car is now 25 days old and you see another salesperson on that car with a customer. I'm going to go up to them and say, hey, let me know what you need, because hey, here's the story, because I only got 5 days to get this car off the lot. So, here's the story. And they're going to hopefully go out and make sure the car's clean and it starts, or the photos are good, right? Or go to the used car manager. Hey, boss, where are we at on my whatever? It's 23 days old. I need to get this thing going so I can get my bonus, right? So, I think that's another approach to help one turn the inventory, because you can even take a purchase car that you did and assign it to somebody and like, hey, here's your 10 cars that you're responsible for. And if you sell any of help sell any of them in 30 days, you get $300 or something.
Used to make a spiff or a little bonus on the wholesale vehicles. So if you held on a wholesale vehicle or whatever, that gave the opportunity to make more money. But whatever you wholesaled in, of course, what you traded in and it went to the wholesaler, you got a percentage of that as well.
Mm-hmm. That would be, like I said, I think that's my ultimate dream, is to have a lead management tool that does that. Now, if half your cars are trades and the other ones are purchases, like I said, I think I mentioned this last time we talked, but let's take my F-250, for example. If I go buy that, well, do I want the leads on that to go to, some gearhead that likes, sports cars and never really drove a truck? Or if I got a minivan, do I want it to go to the green pea that's 20 years old, or the mom that's on my team that drives an SUV that used to drive a minivan? And, that's who I want the leads to go to for that particular car. But I could trade a vet. We'll give it to that 25-year-old that drives a souped up, Acura every day to the work because they like their gearhead, right? Mm-hmm. Give them the vet leads.
Mm-hmm. I guess maybe one day, Jason.
Dabble in some AI would allow you to integrate that into a CRM.
Yeah, one of these days. But yeah, anything you help me buy, you're going to get the leads. That just makes sense. We should do that. And that's another incentive for them to help you acquire these cars. Mm-hmm. We could solve all these problems, right? If only.
It's the same problems you and I have been talking about for 15, 20 years.
More technology.
I think that would turn into less technology, actually. You just have to have the right technology.
Yeah. True.
Speaking of which, I also was trying to think out loud, like market data. We don't carry market in a tool because we help them turn their inventory, but we take the inventory data out of their inventory management tool, the V-Autos, the VinQs, the Max, which already has market data. So why do I need to go spend time and money and energy figuring out market data when I already have it? Let me look at it differently, and we focus on what's happening on their lot. But what I stopped and thought about, so this would be fun to pick your brains with. What, instead of taking market data set, just take sold data market set, right? And say, okay, I don't care what they're listed for. It's what they're selling for, which VinQ does some of that already. But saying, okay, some way to figure out I wouldn't say a day supply on sold, but I guess you can maybe average age to sell on sold data. So forget current market data. I don't care what the guy down the street's pricing is 2022 F-150 XLT. I want to know what people are selling the 2022, because just because they're asking 30, but they're selling at 27, where do I need to price? Do I price at 30 or do I need to be priced closer to 27? And that's what you got to know sooner than later. So forget the current listings. Let's take the current sales and then start ramping it up differently that way. Like some kind of days to sell to volume to, because here's the thing, like even days supply is person oriented, meaning, and again, if I'm repeating myself from last time we talked, but if I want a whatever, I'd like to get a black on black F-150 Lariat sunroof with the whatever engine, right? And one's 10 miles away from me, exactly what I want, black on black, miles a little high, but pretty much what I want. 30 miles away from me, I found a smoke gray, not black. It's got less miles, but it's my second choice. This guy calls and emails me voicemail. This guy calls and emails me, voicemail. I haven't heard this guy for 3 more days. This guy's called me every day and then even offered to bring it to my office to test drive it. And if I happen to have a trade in, he can look at it at that point in time. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do this and have that guy show up, and I'm going to test drive it. He gives me an easy number on my trade, and I'm going to acquire it. Now, does that mean the smoke gray is a better mover? Does that mean the smoke gray is first choice in the market? And this black one ends up sitting in the market for 80 days, and the day supply looks like it's 110, but smoke gray has a 70-day supply because somebody had a smoke gray, did something about it, right? And they actually are proactive. So a lot of market, even you could say rental rockets, let's say Altimas from Enterprise, right? Nissan Altima from Enterprise, you can go buy 20 of them tomorrow. Well, who's buying those? More than likely, a lot of them are buy here, pay here's and subprime type dealers because of the books. Well, what if subprime buy here, pay here managed? They don't have an aging policy. They're just waiting for the wrong customer to come in with $2,000 down to cover the fee, and they're gonna have to ask 110% of market. So when you buy this and you have to sell it at 93% to get it off your lot, 93% of what? 93% of the 110, because these guys hold out. And why does it have a high day supply? Well, because these guys that buy them sit on them and don't give a shit. So are they really bad movers? Well, no, they're like, whatever, the top 10 selling cars in the market, new car, because they're just a volume mover. But when it comes to used, they look like pieces of shit because the people that own them don't give a shit and let them, sorry, I keep cussing, letting them age. And they'll price them high to cover their fees. And so, like I said, there's too many people element to, and how they approach things. They let cars age, don't care, they got to cover fees, or I don't follow up with my leads, so that perfect red one that moves fast in the market ends up moving slow because I don't follow up with my leads. So again, I could say current market data, almost put that to the side and let's actually see what they sell for and what's selling, and then try to duplicate that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Yep. Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
You are giving me some ideas. We are, I might get in trouble by saying this, but we are, yeah, going to be.
Scares me when you say that.
Yeah, we're evolving our product, and one of the things that we've put together some algorithms that can look at how the vehicle is owned, the investment over time. So for the consumer to be able to see, okay, I bought this car at this price, and here's how it's depreciated over time. Here's, my initial investment, which might be my down payment, and then my payments over time, plus what I put in gas in there, what I pay in service, all that kind of stuff. Here's where they come up and they intersect. So now you've gone, your car's worth less than what you've put into it, and here's what it's, some other things going on there. So
their ROI.
Yeah. So the thing that's you're sparking some ideas about isn't just what it's sold for, but also who. So you take the people issue. It's like you might have a guy at your dealership who is really good at selling trucks, maybe not good at selling the sports cars, the opposite of you're trying to describe earlier. And it's really that person who is moving the needle for you and who has the better turn, is helping your turn rate this much, being able to measure that, and then holding gross this much and being able to measure that. These are some of the things that like Driven Data was starting to get into before they were acquired. Some of the ways of looking at the DMS data. That's and that's how we're doing it. We're doing it all off DMS data. And there's some other gems in there that you're just giving me some great ideas about. And yeah, for sure.
I'll give you some more. Like I always wanted to come up with lot legacy, which, you think of a legacy kind of like a family tree. And I know people do it manually, and I don't know of any software unless you're doing it, but is tracking all the roots of a single deal. Meaning, do I go ahead and take $200 on this Malibu? But that led to F&I, which made 15. That led to a trade that made $2,000. That trade, the people that bought that, led to another trade that I wholesaled for 500. And then, by the way, the people that bought this $500 deal, came into service a couple months later, and spent money here, and the people that bought their trade came into service and bought that thing here, and then you'll see these, probably like the Altima would probably give you a bigger legacy on revenue than that 2015 with 50,000 that grandma drove, right? That we sold for 12 grand. Because the problem is that 50,000 mile 12-year-old car that grandma drove for 12 grand, I'm probably going to get somebody 4 hours away to come buy that thing, right? People will come outside the market, and something cheap like that, I call them a one-off. It's a one-off car because you can't find it. You throw the books away on it. But it's a one-off transaction. If somebody's coming 4 hours away, they're probably not bringing a trade, and they probably already talked to their credit union. You're not getting F&I, and they're not coming back for service. So you got to make the $2 grand on it, and that's it. They're out the door. But that Altima, nobody's driving 4 hours for the Altima, right? Nobody's gonna, and it's going to be a 25 grand car, which might get you that 15 trade that you could sell for 12 grand. They're going to come back for service if they're local. So it's a local buyer, and at 25 grand, you're probably going to get financing. Not a lot of people just write a 25 grand check. So that Altima that you made or lost 200 on ultimately could be a 10 grand deal in the long, at 2-3 years down the road. If you look at all the legacy of that one transaction versus that one off that we all want. Oh, I want that grandma car with 50,000 miles on it that, she only drove on Sundays and haven't been out in the rain, blah, blah, blah. But so does everybody else, and they'll drive 4 hours for it. So yeah, to your point.
Yeah, I used to mainly track something like that. Not quite that extensive, but yeah, it was interesting to see the numbers behind that. And it really does tell you a completely different story, just like you're explaining.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. And a lot of people say, there's I remember, I think it was Max Digital back in the day when we were competing against an account. They talked about how, and I'm not beating up on Max. A lot of companies do this. They talked about, hey, not only can we sell you what people are asking for it, we get DMS data so we can tell them what you actually sold the car for. And I kind of called BS on that. I'm like, hold on a second. You can't do that. Let's just say your Honda store, you got an F-150 and you see in the market, on average, they're making $3 grand on these F-150s. Well, if you look at it, it's Ford store selling them. One, they're probably better educated and got a trade in, bought it better. But two is you really don't know if they made $3 grand on it if they over allowed 1,000 on the trade. So until you follow that trade and get the data off the trade and see what the ACV is versus what they actually offered, because the ACV they offer the customer 12 for it, but they ACV'd it at 10. Well, you didn't have a $3 grand deal; you had a $1 grand deal. They over allowed $2 grand on the trade, so you can't say you can go buy another F-150 because you can make $3 grand on it because everybody else is. You got to look at that legacy, that full impact of it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, there's just AI is going to have a big job to do to slice all this data through. I mean, it's just going to be almost impossible. Because even one of my developers, like, can't we just buy, isn't it available to registrations? I'm like, well, JD Power offers that. And he goes, yeah, but then you can see what people are actually buying them for through the registration because they, you can see the price that they paid. And I had the same conversation with him. I said, yeah, I could show they paid 28 grand for it. So the problem is, going back to it, is they didn't care about the sale price. They just wanted 12 grand for the trade. Well, the dealer might say, hey, I'm ACVing at 10, but I'll show you 12. I said, so it really didn't sell for 28. It sold for 26. So I'm like, it's almost going to be impossible to see that.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, not every state offers that information.
Yeah.
You have to have the DMS data.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's tough. So on me, I was just kind of looking bigger picture, like year, make, model, trim, and just see what's out there, what's moving, how fast, and what I left the internet for at least. And
what are you waiting on, Jason? Why don't you whip this program up?
I'm waiting for 3 developers. That's all I work with right now, and I got other things I'm working on.
He also really enjoys those DMS fees for access.
Yeah.
They don't hurt the product margin at all.
Oh, no, not at all. And I hate being one of those vendors to go, hey, for another few $100, I can get this for you, right? But I'm like, but it costs me. You want this data, it's going to cost you. So then I'll end up being like every other vendor and come to you every few months trying to upsell you something. Mm-hmm. So I just try to improve our tool that doesn't cost a whole lot of me, and it just makes it stickier. For me, there's a lot of products that we add to and features to our tool that I don't charge for just to make it stickier and stuff, instead of and make it more sellable than just go to a dealer and say, hey, we added this new feature for $150 more. You can add it, but something like that, DMS, you have to go do that. And how many dealers would be willing to pay another, whatever, 500, 750 a month you're going to have to probably pay to do that.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
Just doesn't sound like it'd be worth it.
It is,
but everybody wants it.
If you can point it in the right direction and bring an ROI with it, yes. So that's
the bad thing is you got to go pay for it initially and eat the cost until you figure out if there is one.
Yeah.
Every time we have you on, Jason, I sit back and think, man, if we were working together on some of these software ideas.
Well, just hit me up. We can talk. We can talk monthly or weekly, and we can build some stuff together. I can help you out there. You can help me out, and I can help you out.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how's LotPop doing?
Doing good. We go through, as dealers are getting more and more challenged, you get more and more reaching out, our challenge is no one knows no one say they don't know, but, understands what we do and why it's worth doing it until we talk to them. So it's market awareness that, and so a lot of our business is word of mouth. The other challenge is, a matter of fact, I had it's embarrassing, but I've had multiple dealers say, "Oh, don't tell anybody about you. You're my secret weapon." So they don't help us, even though we need them to grow. As a matter of fact, one of them, I met him it's probably 7 years ago. It was Corey Mosley event, and I went to go speak at the Corey Mosley event. Now, this guy was already a client of ours, so he already loved us. And as a dealer, and I go to this Corey Mosley event to speak, and I haven't spoke in like a couple years, 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 at that time. And I used to speak all the time, Jeff. I mean, I did a digital dealer, but it's been a long time. And so I was up there, and I was like stuttering a lot. I was very nervous, and it was shit. And so he just told me, he said, yeah, I remember meeting Jason at this event, and he was doing horrible. He goes, and I felt so good because I didn't want any of these dealers to go sign up for you because he wanted it as a secret weapon. I'm like, God dang it, dude. He was like, he was happy that I was sucking up there because he didn't want anybody to know his secret weapon. I'm like, well, come on, man. I need your help here. So that's the challenging part with our business because we're a luxury item. Like I said, they already have to have a vAuto, VinQ Max, whatever. And then we're pulling from the CRM and there. So they always got to pay for that. And then we're on top of that to help manage those processes better. And so that's our challenge, luxury item and market awareness, because there's nobody doing what we do. Okay. Even vAuto Vin Solutions relationship is not doing what we do. So I wish we had more competition just for market awareness, even though it makes it tough. So those are our challenges, but no, it's been going good and I'm loving it. It's just a matter of changing perception. Going back to probably last time I talked to you, stop managing leads based on the age of the lead. I don't care if it's a 2-day-old lead or 50-day-old lead. If you got a truck problem, isolate truck leads and call and email truck leads. But most CRMs, not that I know of any, I can just say, hey, give me my large pickup truck leads out of a CRM, or give me my $20,000 to $25,000 car leads in the CRM. Much less, give me the ones that's still in stock, I haven't contacted in 2 days, and let's call and email them and get our sale rate up. And so that's changing the concept of what we've done since 97, 98, I don't know, 95, 97 when the internet came out. We haven't changed that. And that's what I'm trying to change too. And that just makes it a challenge.
No doubt. Yeah, 98, 99.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, it's always a pleasure, man.
Yes, sir. It is. Look at us, right at an hour.
Yeah. Hey, can you hang out for an extra minute after the show cuts off?
Sure.
Cool.
100%.
All right.
And of course, if people want to reach out to you, what's your plug?
314-568-2754 is my cell, or just go to lotwalk.com. Email's just easy, jrice@lotpop.com. So either way.
Make it a great weekend.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone. Thank you.
Enjoy. Thank you.